Greetings, everyone. Magvan, and for those of you who speak Elvish, I would love to discuss with you today all about crystals. And this is a little bit of science mixed with spirituality. I will have a part 2 on how to use crystals for healing and some of the healing tools that I use. But this is going to be a full workshop for you to understand how crystals work. There are many skeptics out there that think that crystals are really just a bunch of, it's kind of a nonsense idea that it can affect the human body and the emotional state or the spiritual state of someone. But I hope by the end of this workshop, you will be fully convinced that truly crystals do work, as everything carries a specific vibration, and this will help you kind of understand a little bit more about the crystals that you use at your house and what you have right now. So I want to share my screen a couple of times. So let me know if you can't see right away, but I'm pretty sure this will work. So the visible light from the sun is actually composed of what we consider to be white light, but actually they found out that it is all the colors of the rainbow actually within the white light, but we don't see it as colors until it is put through a prism. So the colors are the normal rainbow colors that we know: red, yellow, orange, green, blue, indigo, violet, all of the light spectrum. So I'm going to show my screen here, and you should see this. So this is the, right here. This is the basic science of crystals here, where you see the color spectrum indicates the type of frequency that it has. So the violet has the quickest waves, the shortest waves, so they vibrate at highest vibration or highest frequency, all the way down to, we get to the red, which is the slowest, and we see that it moves in a certain wave pattern. So you can only really see this rainbow when the white light passes through a prism. And so that's why you could see it through crystal or through an actual prism at times, but you'll see it through the crystal sun catchers that you put at your window. The sunlight will come through and then it will shine a rainbow around your room, and you'll see that. So this was all discovered by Isaac Newton when he used a prism to refract the light, because he was trying to understand the perception of light itself and saw the rainbow. And he was actually the one that really helped to fuel the experiments done by Thomas Young later on, where he discovered that light is actually both a wave and a particle. And a particle is actually something that you can hold in your hand. It bounces up and down. Think like bullets in a way. They're little points, little dots basically of energy, and they actually bounce around. You can hold a particle in your hand, but you can't really see it. So the light is actually comprised of the waves that you see and also the particles. And this is how it travels through space as a wave. So we can now conclude that when we perceive this white light, what we are really seeing is actually a rainbow of colors, and they move in this wave pattern. So this is the very beginning science of how to understand crystals and understand how they work. So when you move on, you can start to understand different crystals have different colors because of the composition that they are made out of, also the property and the energy. Physicist James Clerk Maxwell figured out that electricity and magnetism were actually two sides of magnetic. And in the process, he realized that the light is actually waves of electricity and magnetism, which is known as an EM wave. So all matter, everything that you see is actually a wave and a particle. So are crystals, because they are matter as well. And you can see it here that each crystal actually correlates to each vibration depending on its color and what range of color that we perceive it as. And then when you look here, you will see that the different vibrations here show the different levels. The lowest vibration something is, the more dense and physically solid it is. So you have buildings and people and animals. And then the higher vibrations that you get, that's when you get into the subatomic world, the quantum world, things that you cannot see, things that we would consider the light beings and fairies. They actually vibrate at a very high rate. That's why we cannot see them until we ourselves match that particular vibration. So I'm going to stop sharing right here and just ask everybody, was everybody able to see that? You could see it? Yes. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. So we are now going to move on a little bit further here, and I'm going to share the screen once again. I just wanted to go back and check because you never know. So this shows the white light passing through. So all light in the universe, light that comes from the sun, is actually comprised of all these colors, but we perceive it as white light. So white light in itself actually is comprised of all the colors of the rainbow. And so in a way, our eyes act as like a prism, where we can have the light from the sunlight, the light from around the room, actually show us the variety of colors in our world. And if you want to think of it as almost like a prism consciousness, I talk about this a lot. If everything is from prime source, one source, then it stems from this one light that contains all colors within it. And only through the physical reality of a prism, something to refract the light, is when you actually see all the different colors that the white light is comprised of. And this represents all the different layers and levels of consciousness that are on Earth, coming from the prime source. So when we move on, you'll start to understand. Let me talk about this here. So if we actually go back to the light, let's go back to the light here. So all matter is a wave, as we learn, a wave and a particle at the same time. And Marcel Vogel, the leading researcher for IBM, he actually holds about 32 patents for crystal technology. Crystals have been used in your laptops, in your computers, and in your cell phones. They actually store information. They are used to hold memory. It is the reason why your computer actually can hold memory itself and remember what you have put on your computer. So crystals themselves actually do contain memory, and we'll talk more about that. So Marcel Vogel, he was a researcher who was known for his crystal technology, but he was also a very spiritual man. And he said that the crystal is actually a neutral object whose inner structure exhibits a crystalline state of perfection and balance. So they represent nature. And when it is precisely cut to the proper geometric form, and when the mind enters into a relationship with it, structural perfection in the vibration of love, the crystal then emits a vibration which extends and amplifies the power and grasp of the user's mind. So it becomes imagined thought that becomes amplified. So it's whatever your intent is and your thought, the crystal is an amplifier of that. So this is the Vogel crystal. Now it's only a half of one, because the Vogel crystal actually has not only a 6 to 12 dimension cut, but also there is it also on the bottom as well. But they can be very pricey. So that is the Vogel crystal. But going back to color of crystal, what makes a crystal a certain color is its properties, which include the light spectrum, that is also the electricity and magnetism. This is why you are drawn to certain crystals. If you go into a crystal shop, or you just are maybe browsing online looking for crystals, certain colors will attract you. That is the electromagnetism of that particular light wave that is drawing on your soul. It is calling for your spiritual development in the area that you most need. Everything is for our spiritual development and growth. So when you feel that pull, that's that electromagnetism that's actually pulling on you. So follow that. If you feel really drawn to a crystal, that's the crystal that you most need at that time. And that's a message to you that you need to amplify a particular trait that is connected to the chakras. And also it might mean that you need some healing, because there might be some blockages within that level of consciousness that the chakras represent within us. There is both a physical and a spiritual and a mental aspect to the chakras. So crystals can help us on all levels of physical ailments, as well as mental and spiritual blockages. And I wouldn't call them ailments, I call them blockages, because we, at our highest source, we're like nature. We are pure and we are in balance. That is our original state. But when we're in the physical material world and we have our experiences, things can get a little bit messed up, and it's a game to try to rebalance ourselves in terms of moving forward from some of the events that happen. And it's part of the experience, and we grow from these tough experiences that we go through. But each crystal, if we go back to this picture here, is absolutely aligned to each chakra. When you are looking around for the crystals that look a little bit red, that means that it's about connecting back to your root chakra. The ones that are in the orange category, this is your sacral chakra. This is all about reproduction and creativity. The yellow spectrum is about solar plexus energy, self-esteem, self-worth. And then the green is heart chakra, all about the emotional love and experiencing a feeling of self-love and opening yourself up to higher energies. The blue is when you start to get into the blue crystals that are going to open up your communication, to bring forward your true self to the surface and be like a divine messenger for others, to help them remember themselves in their purest state. And then when you get into the purple crystals, that purple field, this is when, and the indigo actually, this is when the third eye can be amplified. The thoughts that can be brought to surface is all about creation from the third eye, seeing the truth of your true soul, and also seeing through the duality and the illusions in the world too. And then the pink crystals, those represent the divine love. If you have crystals in the white spectrum or in the black spectrum, they are overtones. So the white is like an amplifier of all the other colors. We'll get into quartz clear crystal. We'll get into that. And then the black is a protection for all of the chakras. And they actually are on the color spectrum, but you can't see them. They're in the infrared rays. And so we'll talk about that. They will align to the different emotions, as you know. So each chakra pertains to different types of emotions that you feel. And so the vibrations that these emotions have. This is a great list here that was created by David Hawkins. Each frequency is actually determined. The highest frequency of enlightenment is 700 to 1,000 right here. These are the highest types of feelings that you can experience within your body, the highest type of vibration. So when you want to see fairies or light beings or higher types of beings, if you are in this higher state of vibration, I would even say here too, if you are in these states of vibration, this is when you will start to feel very connected to nature, because nature is actually in its place of enlightenment at a natural state. It is one with the source. And so nature is our tool to get back to our spiritual truth of who we are. And crystals are the oldest things within nature. They are tools for us to use, and they themselves are actually beings. So we'll go into that here. So you may feel drawn to certain crystals based on the emotional fields that you are in and what needs alignment and adjustment back into your body for your spiritual development. It's almost like your higher self is basically pulling you on this path through a feeling of, well, actually an energy of electromagnetism. And then that is what pulls you and attracts you, magnetism, towards the crystal that you most need. So that is, you can never be wrong at this point. Now, I want to say this because some people think that you have to find the right crystal yourself and that it comes from a mental thought, or you have to find out by listening to a crystal. It's not really about that. It's about following your true self. It's about following whatever truth that you're in. If you are in a place of grief because you went through some loss in your life, if you are fearful because there's somebody who is out to harm you, then you need to follow that truth into the crystals that are represented within that category. Now, the crystals that are also dedicated to higher vibrations will also help you with these. So these are what we call like master crystals, because they have such a high vibrational rate. The problem is that with master crystals such as amethyst, if you yourself are in these lower states, you may not be able to believe, your mind will maybe not be able to amplify all that the amethyst can amplify out into the world and in your life, alter your reality. You do have to come towards crystals with a belief in their power. So you have to be at this place of acceptance and a higher vibrational state there. So this is also here, I wanted to show you this chart. Each crystal also holds a particular note because of the different waves. They also, everything basically makes a sound that moves. We just may not be able to hear it. And those that are at higher vibrations, you will not be able to hear. Those that might be at a lower vibration, you would be, it's in the human spectrum. But the higher vibrations is what animals can hear, and what, extrasensory type of beings could hear when they improve their senses and able to hear those sounds. And sometimes you can hear ringing in your ears very faintly, and that is an indication that you might be moving into these other dimensions. And especially if they're softer and you can hear a ringing, this could be an indication. Now, if you're really good with music and you can tune to the sound that you hear, if you can find out if it's an F sound or a G or an A or a B, B, for example, will sound like this. Where is my... Doodle-doodle. That is the seventh chakra, the crown chakra. That is a B. When you hear that sound in your ear, that is an indication that you are vibrating at this higher dimension. So listen to those ringing pitches that you hear inside of your ear. because your body reacts to the dimension that you're in. And dimensions are about consciousness. Oh, I just hear the ringing right now. Oh, that's cool. I like that. So let's go back. And I can talk a little bit more about, let's go back to here. So this is why this is really interesting. So if you go onto NASA's website, you'll actually find a lot of information about the light spectrum and the electromagnetism of light. And so what they said is that a leaf can look green because EM waves interact with chlorophyll molecules in the plant. And then those waves are between 492 and 577. And that's the green spectrum of light. And I thought I had a picture, and unfortunately, I think I lost it, but it would be back here. So you could see here 550 and what I say 400 and actually 492. So the leaves are actually somewhere around here, if you could see that color. That's why to our eye they actually appear green. So this is in nanometers in length, and they're reflected by our eye, which interprets this as the leaf being green. Our eyes see the leaf as green, but cannot tell us anything about how the leaf reflects ultraviolet or microwave or infrared waves. But everything around us absorbs, reflects, and radiates EM radiation differently based on its composition. Crystals actually take their color when they are formed millions of years in a process based on the frequency that they carry. And that is called a spectrum signature. A crystal's color determines its chemical composition, its physical properties, but also its energetic ones. And we cannot really see them, but we can experience that frequency within our life, the vibrations that the crystals emit. It translates to represent our own spiritual states of consciousness within. And Tolkien actually had a use of crystals. I'm going to stop right here. I hope you saw all that. Can you see everything there? I hope you saw that. But Tolkien actually used crystals 3 times at least. That's what I could find in his stories, because he even knew that crystals were very important. And this is an actual quote from, it's not in the Silmarillion because it was not actually written in the Silmarillion, but it is in the Legendarium, which we consider to be the unfinished tales. All of the notes and all of the writings of Tolkien that maybe not appeared completely within his stories, but they certainly were part of his world. They were made, so this is what he's saying about the crystals, the blue crystals that we know of, called the Fëanorian lamps. They were made of old Valinor, so the light of Valinor itself, the light of fairy, and neither wind nor water could quench them. And when they were unhooded, they sent forth a clear blue light from a flame, imprisoned in a white quartz crystal. And this is the unfinished tales of Tuor, and this is his coming to Gondolin. So that is where you find the information about the Fëanorian lamps. They are described by Tolkien as crystals that hung in a fine chain net, and the crystals being ever shining with an inner blue radiance. Now this is represented by both Sirius and Pleiades, both like the Remerith, the netted stars of Pleiades, that's what he called the Pleiades, and then Helluin of Sirius, the blue azure bee of Orion. So later these crystals were crushed and combined to make elven weapons, to create elven weapons like Gladring and Sting and Orcust that would glow blue to show when there was a presence of orcs. So it's almost like the Valar programmed these crystals, because you can program crystals to do certain things with your intent. So the crystals were pre-programmed in Valinor in order to detect when Sauron's, and also related to Melkor, of course, the very beginning part of Discord for the Valar. But it's a way to protect all the beings on Middle Earth. Those crystals were pre-programmed by the elves who lived in Valinor, and also by probably the Valar, to aid them in this even to be able to be manifested in Middle Earth. These crystals could detect when anything dark was coming their way. You also see it in Arkenstone, the dwarf crystal that was called the Heart of the Mountain. It's a crystal found in a mountain, and this is the way that he spoke about it, was that it was a pure light crystal that when sunlight or moonlight, when outside light hit it, 10,000 sparks of white radiance shot out with glints of rainbow. So it was almost like a prism, but I think it had more of like an opalescent type of quality to it, where you see all the different rainbows of colors. And so that became a coveted crystal of many people within the stories. And then the other crystal that he talked about was the Palantir, and this is, it's actually Palantir. It's a ball of indestructible dark crystal that was used to look into from one place and see the events of what was going on. So they were almost communication balls. There were 7 of them that were created by the elves, especially Feanor. So Tolkien said that when you gazed into a crystal, very much like looking into a crystal ball, that you can see the events. Now, it was said that it wasn't quite clear whether it was future events or it was past events that they were seeing, but it was all determined by the actual viewer and the observer of what they were seeing. So it had a lot to do with the connection to their own mind. And so these are some of the ways that crystals appear in Middle Earth. So no doubt, if you if you are drawn to crystals, then you will also maybe resonate with the elves, because they used the crystals. They understood the properties and values of crystals. One thing that's really amazing to think about is that I hold right here a piece of earth that is, they say, 50 to 500 million years old. These are the oldest things on earth, are crystals that we have in our homes. And they themselves have many different frequencies and energies within them. They are memory holders and keepers. They contain information that is from ancient times, during the times of their formation. So however old your crystal is, from 50 to 500 million years old, that is when the time that they actually have stored information about what was going on around Earth at that time. And humans are said to be much younger, so this actually has information stored about beings and creatures, other animals that existed on Earth before humans did, or possibly at least the current modern human that we have today. And it's all connected, right? So it's all part of our evolution. So in many ways, when we have these crystals within our homes, we are tapping into old memories, ancient memories that are stored within them. And so it's very important to actually clear your crystals when they come into your home. Now, unless you want to sit there with all this information, this ancient information from millions of years ago in your home, and sometimes I do, I have let myself actually not clear this because I trusted it. I want to see what it has. It's called a fairy quartz, and you can see the little specks within it. And so each of these specks are actually a moment in history. It's a memory. They get to these lines almost like a tree ring would too. So this is something that I did not want to clear myself because I wanted to have this ancient memory within my house, and see if I could get some kind of information from it when I would meditate with it or use it in my home. But crystals are actually Earth's DNA. They are formed over millions of years, actually, from the elements themselves. And when you go back to the colors of the crystals, which I really hope I share, I'm hoping that when I share something, it doesn't say I can't share it again, but I hope you see this. So these colors here pertain to the different frequency and the vibration that the crystals have within them as compositions. And so these are formed through different elements. Now, when you think about what the elemental souls and elements themselves represent between, earth, air, water, fire, and the zodiac signs too, everything is all connected. So crystals that are certain colors, like the greens, are all good for earth-based zodiac signs. They're going to be the most grounding and balancing to those that are born under the sign of the earth. But you also may need other crystals to help you as well, to rebalance you in areas. Those who are born in water, in the watery elements, you're going to be more in the blues and indigos. So those are going to help you as well. And as you get a little bit higher into the air, that's going to be the pink crystal realm. And so fire is all yellow and orange. So it's all related in that way. I hope you saw that. Did you see that? Yes, good. I'm glad you saw that. So clearing your crystals can be very important if you do not want that ancient energy around in your home, because it is millions of years old. And unless you intentionally do that, you might not recognize that about your crystals. So there are some crystals that you can charge by water in a bowl, much like this. And you would place it in water, and you would allow the moonlight or the sunlight. You would sit it in a windowsill by the sunlight or in the moonlight, dependent on the properties of the crystals. So not all of the crystals actually respond to sunlight or moonlight, but they actually will respond to the light that is best for their composition and their color frequency. So what did I say here? Like the reds, the browns, the greens, the warmer tones, things that you would consider to be a warmer tone would be best for sunlight. Things that you consider to be cooler tones, the pinks, the blues, the purples, the whites with blue flashes to them, a blue undertone, then those are going to be the best to be recharged in moonlight. So you can tell the difference that way, and that will help you know what best to charge it in, sunlight or moonlight. Now, there are crystals that you cannot put in water, depending on their hardness. So I wanted to show you this, and I hope that this shares. Let me share here. I believe it's this one. Is it that one? Maybe. Go to this one. Okay, so you could see the colors here. Obviously, the colors of the sun are going to be more of the warmer tones, and the colors of the moon is going to be more these cooler tones here. But this is really what I wanted to show you here. Yes, I found it. let me get back to it right here. This is not the most intuitive program for sharing, so sorry about that, but hopefully this helps. Okay, I hope that this helps. You know what, I'm going to make this larger. There you go. Hopefully you can see that better now. So when you look at the hardness of crystals, there are certain crystals that dissolve in water. They actually become ruined in water because they themselves contain a lot of properties that are easily eroded in water. So you don't want to put crystals that are very soft. The ones that are made with talc or the gypsum or the calcite and the fluorite, these are the ones that you do not want in your water bowl, such as your celestite, you know, all the ones that are almost like the rock salts. Any of those type of crystals you do not want. Then when we start to get into the higher ranges, those can be put into water to be recharged. Now, if you have a pen, you can write down here water safe crystals in order to clear out their memory and attune them to your intention are the elf stone, Tolkien called the beryl, and it comes in aquamarine or emerald or other types of beryl, as it's one of the hardest crystals. It is a number 9 on the scale of 10. 10 is a diamond, and so diamonds are the hardest. They cannot be at all eroded by water. So they are the strongest and hardest minerals that we have. But the beryl is the next one, and then all of the quartz families, clear quartz, amethyst, smoky quartz, rose quartz, you know, the one that I showed you, the spirit quartz, those are all good for water. Citrine is, tiger's eye, agate, aventurine, red jasper, onyx. So there are others, but I put down those to help you, but you can understand that if you look, this is called the Mohs scale. So it's MOHS scale. So if you're worried about crystals that you have and you want to make sure that you're not going to ruin their properties, then you can look look up what your crystal is, look at the properties that created the crystal, and see if it is a soft crystal or it is a harder crystal. And that will determine if your crystal can actually be charged with water or cleared with water. And then we'll get into charging. So if they cannot be then in cleared with water, then you would actually use salt. Salt is a wonderful way of neutralizing the energy that is stored within your crystals. Serpentine is one of those crystals that I cannot put into water. So I put it into salt, and you just put it in the center here. And then I would put this under the sunlight because of the colors. It would activate its energy and frequencies better because of the color spectrum. Everything is connected. And so you kind of have to think about crystals in a scientific way, that if the colors match the color spectrum, they also match the chakras. They also match the consciousness. They match also the areas of disease and illness within our bodies as well. So this is one of the pictures that we can go back to here, and I can talk a little bit about this. Many people may think that, oh, I'm sorry, this is not the one here. Yes, many people may think that you can't do anything for like illnesses or disease within the body using crystals, but actually you can. You can, and it is, I keep on going here, and it's related. I really like the other one. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to go back. It's really related to the idea of, here it is, chakra chart. There we are. It's related to where it is in the body in terms of where your disease is located, where your illness stems from. that is showing that you have a particular blockage within that area. So if you are having problems with your feet, you're having problems with your legs, you would want to use the crystals that are within the red spectrum on the bottom of your feet, feet, on your legs, anywhere, and you place the crystal and you can use it on your body, determining where the disease and the illness is. Now, this is not the only way to cure disease. There are many ways, but if you tune into the frequency of the crystal that is trying to rebalance that area within your body, you will get some results. And the more you align your mind with the crystal's intention and frequency of what it is responsible for in helping the human body, then you will get more results as well, because it will help to formulate the reality that you experience and you perceive. So everything is truly connected in that way. So you use the stones in the color spectrum associated with the body parts or domains of emotions. So it can help you physically and emotionally and spiritually. The way to actually program a crystal to help you is after you cleanse, what you're going to do is, so I cleanse this crystal now in the salt. What you're going to do is you're going to hold it within your hand, and you're going to send your intention. So say you are suffering from liver problems and you experience that. Or if you don't want to focus so much on the physical, maybe you're doing okay health-wise. Maybe it's more about money or luck, or feeling like your heart is not opened because this is green, this is helpful for the heart. Then you're going to want to program it. You're going to hold it in your hands, lovingly enter into a relationship with the crystal as if it is an ancient being that can help you on earth, that it wants to see you be rebalanced and reconnect to nature in its perfect and balanced state. It also wants that to happen within your body. So you're going to hold the crystal in appreciation, love for what it is about to do for you, and you're going to say your intention. So I'm not going to program it right now, but you're going to say it's your intention, and then you're going to place it in your home somewhere where you can constantly be around it. It can be in your pocket, or you can wear it as jewelry. And you have tuned now to the frequency of that crystal and why it appears a certain color to you, and why you perceive it as a certain color is because of the properties that it relates to and how it is connected to the 7 layers of consciousness within your body. So you will experience that, and that is how you know what crystal to use and how to program it for the intention that you want. So you program them with intention and love, because this is a way to enter into a respectful relationship with these ancient beings. Tesla actually has a quote here. He was also into crystals, Nikola Tesla. In a crystal, we have clear evidence of the existence of a formative life principle, and though we cannot understand the life of a crystal, it is nonetheless a living being. So these are the ways that you can start to understand how crystals work, cleanse them if you need to, and reprogram them to work best for you, and enter into a relationship with the oldest beings on earth today. And they hold memories from ancient earth. And you can actually get downloads and receive messages when you meditate with them within your hands. So a lot of times I like to meditate with crystals because they have that stored information, and they are not, since they're at a state of perfection and balance, because they come right from nature, there is no ill intent to put any type of negative messages within you. It's simply to share with you all that has happened on earth so that you can start to receive messages of what is contained in the past of humanity. Now, there is no such thing as the past, as we've talked about on this channel, in a quantum way, but it is part of a collective story that's playing out. So our past has a lot to do with our backstory of who we are today, what we have evolved from, and we can get information from our past to actually help us in our present. And it's part of our backstory to spiritual development and evolution of our own soul. And you can use crystals as tools. So join me on Friday as I show you the way to use crystals as healing tools. There's different types, and you use different shapes and different types for the experience. And I will end with showing you here. This is something that I got over Christmas. This is something to help you too. Is it's actually has an LED light, so it shines. I don't know if you can see that here. No, probably not. It actually shines. No, still not. You can see it coming through though. So it's actually an LED light and it comes through. And this is called a mood lamp. So it's a salt lamp that actually has different color spectrum of light coming through the crystal. This is an amplifier of all the emotions, and I use this for actually balance of all the chakras. So it is all connected. All of these colors relate to the levels of experience. And I believe why we have that is because we are made in the image of the universe in terms of the way that the human body is made, the way that any body is really made in the universe, is it is a reflection of the consciousness levels that would exist within the universal consciousness. So as you rise up to the different levels of consciousness, it's related to the color spectrum as a way of understanding ourselves better. It is like a tool or a key that we left ourselves before space-time when we created the collective together, so that we would have a roadmap, so that we would have a way out of the material world in a way. The idea that we won't get lost here for too long in the material world, that our spiritual selves can be found through using these maps and understanding the way that science works and how spirituality actually is very much connected by the prime source of energy that we all stem from. One thing I do want to say is that crystals, all of crystals, although they work on different parts of the body and through the different levels of chakras that you contain within you, they work best. All crystals themselves, they were formed millions of years ago when the earth was cooling. They are actually created in the energy of love, because love is creation. Love is giving life. So all crystals, regardless what color they come from, they all vibrate in a frequency of love. There is that force around them because of how they were actually made. And so remember that and cherish that relationship with your crystals. And I hope that you see crystals in a whole new way, and that it helps you maybe confirm some things that you knew. And this is the way that the elves used crystals too. They understood the power behind crystals. And this is why Tolkien included them within our world. And let me tell you, did I say our world? Oh, that's funny. Within the elven world in Middle Earth, it's this background of Lothlorien here. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, that's funny. But the idea is that the more that humans awaken back to this truth of the usage of crystals, we get back to this knowledge that we had in Atlantis and Lemuria, where they did use crystals, that crystals were part of their technology. And whatever happened within the use of that crystal technology, we have a chance to reconnect to crystals, to establish a new relationship with them. so that we're not in a quest for power and gain. It's like the story of Dark Crystal. If you saw that, the resistance of the Gelflings and the Dark Crystal. If we, as humans, if we use the crystal in terms of with pure intention to know ourselves better, to reach a place of spiritual development within, and not use it to seek out power over others or use it as a weapon of destruction or war to amplify thoughts that are negative or to create certain types of energy that can create destructive things on earth, then I believe that we are moving forwards from a past story that many of us might feel inside of us that something maybe did not go right during Atlantis and Lemuria. And Atlantis is actually Numenor in Tolkien stories. And Tolkien himself actually had what's called the Atlantis haunting. He actually would have dreams about Atlantis kind of going down underneath the ocean. And so part of his story of Numenor and the rise and the fall of that particular place is also a story of the rise and the fall of Atlantis. So it's all connected. Everything is really connected, and it's to show us a specific path of spiritual development so that we don't make the same mistakes of the past, but we use these tools to know ourselves better and to evolve into higher spiritual beings with clear awareness about ourselves and about the universe around us. So Hanan Lei for watching, everyone. I'm so happy that you joined me. I'm going to take some questions if there are any kind of comments, and if you don't want to stay for the comment section, you don't have to, but I definitely will. Elfen Magic, this video is divine timing. Recently started studying crystals again, hoping to learn to heal. Good. Well, now you know that it's all connected to the color spectrum. So now you know what particular crystals to use. You can get more detailed because every crystal has different properties to it and colors. So sometimes you can find crystals that have 2 or more or 3 or more colors. And that means that it has the property of those chakra levels because it's related to the light spectrum. And that's why you're perceiving 2 or 3 or more colors within your crystal and not just all green. So keep that in mind, that there are some crystals that are used for multiple purposes. And when you find those crystals, that's really helpful. They're some of the higher vibrational ones. The highest vibrational ones that we have today, of course, are the ones that are in the violet and the pink realm. But also they're actually not crystals, they are parts of meteorites. The teakite and moldavite contain energies within them that are very high vibrational that actually come from outer space. So that's why moldavite is becoming very popular, because when you meditate with moldavite within your hand, you're going to get information that's not only about Earth, but it's actually about outer space, all the information that was stored within those elements are now within your hands. So that's why those are really high vibrational tools as well. And I know somebody who sells moldavite. I'll put his link in the description for you. He sent me a really beautiful one. He's in the UK, but you can find moldavite and you can use it as a very high vibrational tool in order to receive messages that are extraterrestrial in a way. Let's see. So I'm so sorry that some of the other ones did not go through as far as the photos. I heard that some of the photos did not get shown, but I do think that I showed all of the photos. And basically the main point is just to go with the color spectrum. So thank you for telling me, yeah, Muriel, no, we didn't see anything. So some of the photos didn't come through, but I believe that you did see them before, and I just maybe just reiterated and went back to them. But you can go online and you can actually search light spectrum and chakra spectrum, and you can learn about the different frequencies and the waves that the light the light waves contain, and then how they correlate to the human chakra chart as well. And that is your roadmap for spiritual development. What are the best books that goes into detail of the occult and metaphysical uses of crystals? I have one that I really truly love. It is by Judy Hall. I don't have it right now. It's by Judy Hall, and it is the Encyclopedia of Crystals. I really love that book. It is a huge book, and it goes through almost all of the crystals. And Judy Hall is, I was really turned on to her many, many years ago when I was really interested in crystals. I've always loved crystals. But when I was old enough to drive to Barnes & Noble on myself, I found this book and fell in love with it. So check out Judy Hall, and that book is phenomenal. It's very big, and that's probably the only book that you might need because it has all the crystals within it, and it goes by chakra level. So you have all the way from red all the way to pink, and it really helps you understand crystals very well. So I hope that helped you, Naveed. Yes, Rain. Also, it's a good idea to have a set of chakra stones. Absolutely. In fact, on Friday, I'm going to talk more about that, because when you have a set, then you always have that ready for yourself to help yourself wherever you're ailing in the body. I've been using crystals for a long time. I haven't really been fully ill, but I do suffer from headaches sometimes and stomach aches. So I will use certain crystals and I will set them on me, and I hold them there for about 15 minutes or so, or even longer sometimes. But we'll definitely go more into that on Friday. Thank you, Rain, Han and Lei. And thank you. I'm so glad you liked my background. And then Tina, do you know what a low buzzing sound outside the right ear is? So this is where you're going to have to tune into the note. You have to kind of go and understand what note it is, because B is the crown chakra, and then it goes down from B. So if you can play the piano or even use an app on your phone, and you can go down the scale from B, and you can tune it to what you are hearing in your ear, that will tell you the dimension that you're rising into or you are currently at. Now, the reason why we don't hear ringing all the time is because we're not transitioning from dimension to dimension all the time. That'd be a little hard on ourselves. But when we hear that ringing, it means that we rose to a new dimension, or we lowered ourselves to a new dimension. So listen to the ringing in the ear, and that will tell you. And if you can tune it to a certain note, it will tell you exactly. So it's not just guesswork. There is a science involved with it according to the sound waves and the sound that it makes. Oh, Moldavite 2020 Aurora. Please leave your link below for your Moldavite, because it is wonderful, and you are such a pure soul with great intention. You are a Pleiadian starseed, and I think that getting Moldavite from you will be a great thing for others. So if you can leave your link below, that would be great. Forest Fairy, can you use crystals that have been altered? I recently became interested in angel aura crystals, but I found out that they are altered quartz crystals. Yeah, angel aura, like anything that's processed through heat, it just has a little bit element of fire now. So you just have to figure out what is the chemical or the elemental process of altered crystals. And then that will show you kind of the new type of energy that was introduced to it. So normally by itself, a blue crystal would be more around the throat and the third eye, depending on the color of the blue. And I think actually angel aura crystals are usually white. They're usually like white quartz. And white quartz is it's known as the amplifier. It's actually one of the oldest type of crystal, and it is used in many different things. White quartz crystal is used in your computers, it's used in watches, it is used in many different forms of technology. White quartz, or clear quartz crystal, I should say, is used in orgone pyramids, which we will talk more about, but there's a clear crystal at the top pointing out. So this is very related to the idea of sending out particular types of energy, and this is an amplifier, the way that the point is. So we'll talk more about that on Friday. But yes, you can use altered crystals. Just find out what they were altered with, and then that tells you what they can kind of help you with as well. And the colors that we see in an angel aura crystal, I love them as well, is that it has all the multiple iridescent colors. So the light spectrum is related once again to the chakras. So it's kind of like a rebalancer of all the different chakras within you. So probably not the reds, yellows. Yeah, I don't think it has those colors, but it does have the higher vibrational ones. And I would say that the alteration of it is not a problem unless you start to doubt it or don't believe. But the original form of the crystal is probably the best. But angel aura crystals are lovely to have as well. And they kind of add a little bit of enchantment and imagination and creativity to the element of the crystal, because it's kind of remade into something new. You could think about it that way, you know, what it represents. I don't think that it would be bad for you. And then Tina, what about the Lumerian Code Keeper crystals? I actually have one that I'm going to show on Friday. Yes, I mean, all crystals basically have been around since Lemuria. I mean, because they are millions of years old, but they're starting to say that the quartz crystal is a Lemurian one, and the particular point that it takes, because it is like the Vogel crystal, where it amplifies because of the dimensions that it was cut. The more dimensions that a crystal is cut, the more energy gets amplification. So that's why it's a very high amplifier of energy, rather than something that is more kind of rounded. This is not as much of an amplifier as this is. This is a real strong amplifier because of the 6 dimensions that it was actually cut into. And this sends its frequency and vibration straight through the top. And this is the secret pyramids, basically. They believe that the pyramids at the top had a crystal top, and that's what happened. That crystal top is no longer there. But that is a theory about what was at the pyramid top, the cornerstone. So this crystal here is not as much of an amplifier just because of its shape, but it does amplify and it does work for you. So it's just about the amount of energy that you want. So if you can purchase one that is more cut, you can use it as your wand. And a quartz crystal is wonderful because it's an amplification, and it helps to purify and rebalance all of the colors within the chakra system. Naomi, hi, joined late. Will you post the chart of the crystals that are to be cleansed with water and salt? So I didn't have a chart. I just wrote down what they were. So hopefully you can go back and listen to that. The chart that I did show was the hardness. It's called the Mohs scale, MOHS scale. So if you look that up, it'll show you the hardness of the certain types of minerals, all the way from diamond to being the hardest. And then you can determine if your crystal is too soft to be cleansed with water versus it hard enough to be cleansed with salt. I hope that helps. Roxanne, crystals are good for Aule meditation or for earth knowing. Moldavite is from meteorites. Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. It's literally out of this world, moldavite. And teakite, that's the other name for it. And yes, Aule is definitely known for all of the crystals and the dwarves seeking out the crystals and all the gems within the mountain. I agree. Naomi, I was told to start using moldavite. Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, it would help you get in touch with some of maybe your past experiences being a star. If you're a starseed on Earth now, it will get you in touch with some of your experiences other places beyond Earth. I have my moldavite, and I have received messages through meditation that way. So I highly recommend it. Sorsha, there's a video that literally shows the spirit consciousness energy within a crystal. They use a camera similar to those used in aura photography. It's a remarkable video. That's great. Yeah, that is, I think I know what it is. It's the crystal documentary. I believe I saw it a while ago, and it is phenomenal. What I can do is I can share that to my Facebook page, and I'll even put it in the description for you too. I think it's a pretty long one, but it's a great documentary. Thank you for reminding me of that. All right. Well, I'm so glad. This is great. I'm so happy that you joined me today, and I will show you all of my tools, and I'll talk about the different ways to use crystals on Friday. So I hope you know more about your crystals and appreciate them more. And I will see you all on the next video. Namaste.